Mahomes back, throws. It is incomplete, picked off by the Lions. Brian Branch with it left side. He's gone, baby. He's going to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Deflected in the air, Branch ran under it, and he took it all the way back.
No Brian Branch for the Detroit Lions Sunday against Carolina. No problem.
No problem.
No Amon-Ra St. Brown. No worries.
No problem.
I am Tim Twentyman. This is PJ Clark. This is the Twentyman and Huddle podcast, and we are coming to you post-Lions game, as we do every week, and post-Lions victory, PJ Clark.
Get used to that.
A convincing Lions win 42-24 at home against the winless Carolina Panthers. It improves Detroit's record to 4-1 after 5 weeks. And I think how I would describe this win, and I know we're going to hear a comment from Dan Campbell, and he kind of talked about the same thing. It's complementary football.
Yep.
That's what we saw from the Detroit Lions. And look, if you're a good team in the NFL, if you're playing meaningful games in the month of December, in the month of January, you're a team that's been able to withstand injuries, which Detroit's done. And I think typically you see with those teams, they play pretty good complementary football, right? Your defense comes up with a big turnover, like Detroit's defense did 3 times in this game, and the offense turns those into 21 points.
Yep.
And then the offense just continues to roll behind David Montgomery and his 109 yards on 19 carries, another touchdown. There's 2 games in a row with 100 yards and touchdown for him. And it's just the special teams. Riley Patterson doesn't get any field goals, but he makes all 6 of his extra points. The 2 punts that Jack Fox drops him inside the 20-yard line.
Yep.
It's complementary football, Peach, and that's what good football teams do.
It was just an incredibly well-rounded game, especially, again, in that's back-to-back. It's back-to-back games, but really it's back-to-back first halves. Just excellent by the defense coming out firing. I thought it was interesting that Carolina won the toss, took the ball. They wanted to come out and start this game on a good note, and defense never let them even breathe. Never even let it get a chance to take advantage of getting the ball first.
And the most important statistic in football is, as we all know, as you guys out there know, it's turnovers. And you look at the sheet with Detroit, it's 3-0. And to be able to turn all 3 of those into touchdowns.
You're going to win a lot of games if you're 3-0.
And all 3 coming in Carolina territory. That's huge too, right? So, your offense scores, you get some momentum. They're trying to answer, and then you just shut them down right in their own territory. The offense turns around, scores, and it's a demoralizing thing for a team when you continue to turn the football over, and then your defense can't stop it. Can't make a big play to change that momentum. It's just deflating, and that's what we saw with Carolina today.
Yeah, I think the defensive line again took a advantage of a young quarterback and got in Bryce Young's face early and often and pressure and hit him and got to their spots and got to where they needed to be. 99 rushing yards, again, under 100 rushing yards. 99 is well above the season average, but you're still under 100 for the year. And it was just everybody, only 1 sack, but you got all the pressures. The pressures were created, the turnovers, and Aleem McNeil stringing a third great game together, getting in on that forced fumble. That was just, again, defensive line came up big today.
Let's hear what Dan Campbell had to say about this win to open up his post-game press conference, because I thought he said it perfectly.
Okay, there's nothing better than when you tell your team just concerns, and you talk about it, and your team tells you, Coach, just freaking relax. All right, we got it. And they did that today. They came out, they set the tone for the game, and really never let off the gas. And you talk about complimentary football. We've been talking about it was time for us to get a knockout, a strip fumble that we got. We talked about our D-line coming up with 1. Hutch got 1. Come away with 3 takeaways and turn those into 21 points offensively. That's complimentary football. So just an outstanding job by those players who, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, they don't care who we play. It's competition, and they show up. And So they're not worried about the elements, who they have, who we have, what the records are, and I'm proud of the way we showed up.
Who we have and who we don't have. And that's an interesting one, too, because the Lions were missing some key pieces to this. Look, Brian Branch has played so well. There's a reason why he's our opening call to start the podcast.
It was maybe one of my favorite Dan Campbell quotes ever today.
Yeah, it was. And look, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the best player this team has offensively, especially in that wide receiver room. Jahmyr Gibbs is an explosive player. Anytime he gets his hands on the ball, he can go 80 yards for a touchdown. All three guys weren't playing today, and I don't know if you even noticed.
I mean, he coach said at postgame, it really might be my favorite Dan quote ever, is that at some point, you play so many games with so many injuries, you just get good at it.
Yeah.
And today was a great example of that. I mean, Marvin Jones, a slow start to the year, stepped up, moved the chains to get a big first down. Brock Wright had 3 catches today. Khalif stepped up. Josh Reynolds, again, steady Eddie when they need him. And, Sam LaPorta didn't have to do a lot for his 2 touchdowns. He was wide open on both of them, but he caught him and he scored.
And I thought that first possession was a perfect example. Khalif Raymond comes out, gets a 6-yard reception.
Yep.
Then boom, we get a 23-yarder to Marvin Jones, who, hasn't been a huge part of the offense. And then boom, the guy who's been kind of your rock when he's been in there, a guy that they've leaned heavily on, and David Montgomery with a 42-yard touchdown. So 3 plays, 2 guys that aren't always a big part of the passing game when St. Brown is rolling, gets you going. And that's to my point about good teams being able to not only play complementary football, but when injuries happen, to be able to step in and have guys, perform and support you and get you through some of that stuff. And look, we've seen it defensively with guys like Ifatu Melifonwu, with Tracy Walker, with Will Harris. I mean, They've just had guys step in and fill roles, and they've been able to continue to win football games despite all the injuries they've dealt with. And I think that's a sign of a good football team.
I even think, to go even a step further, I mean, he's not an injury replacement because he's been starting all year, but there was talk, Emmanuel Mosley's going to come back, and what does that mean for Jerry Jacobs? Ever since that talk started, Jerry has had 3 interceptions and gotten his hand on 7 passes, I think it is, and he stepped up, and Mosley goes down again today, and that's it. Just next man up, everybody. Will Harris was incredible today, broke up a touchdown in the end zone, 9 tackles for him. I mean, you're really seeing, I feel like we talk about it every week, the floor of this team is so high because the bottom, 10, 15 guys on the roster is just such an improvement on where it has been in the past.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, kudos to Brad Holmes and his staff and the depth that they've built on this football team. And look, Dan Campbell and his guys getting them ready to play. And look, you expect St. Brown to be back healthy against Tampa Bay next week. It sounds like Branch could be ready to come back too. And so now you've gotten this 4-1 start, and you've dealt with these injuries, and you're going to get guys back healthy. You're going to start to get better there. So that's certainly a good sign moving forward. And one other thing I want to talk about here is offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and his creativity.
In his bag today.
He went the reverse flea flicker to get Sam LaPorta wide open for a touchdown. And then later in the game, actually snaps a ball through Jared Goff's legs to the running back on a 3rd and 6 play to David Montgomery.
Picks up 10 yards.
He was able to get 10 yards and a first down, catch Carolina flat-footed. But even to attempt that,
yeah.
And it was on, so they had, we were going to snap it when we said, J-Mo, come in motion, then snap, and you got the defense flat-footed. I mean, kudos to him for just having the guts to call it, but it seems like everything he dials up just seems to work.
Yeah, and it's a tough thing to do when you don't have maybe your 2 most explosive offensive players out there, and you know what you have in St. Brown, and you can get incredibly creative with Gibbs that I don't know necessarily that we've seen the capabilities of that yet, but you certainly didn't see it today because he wasn't out there. So to still dial up and go deep into the bag of tricks and really take advantage and kind of foot on the gas, especially after that interception that led to the LaPorta touchdown on the reverse flea flicker. I mean, that is a foot on the gas moment.
Yeah, 100%. And look, what it does, it tells me he's got a lot of trust in his quarterback right now too, and as well he should. I mean, Jared Goff, 20 of 28, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Good of him to break that streak. He had talked about that. 132 passer rating, and he also rushed for a touchdown too. I mean, when your quarterback is playing as well as Jared is right now, you're getting contributions all over the field, and you're running for 159 yards, averaging 5.3 yards per carry, and then your defense is playing well. I mean, this is a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense right now, Peach.
That's it's a really good place to be.
Good football team, and they're beating teams that they should beat. And it's not one of those things where they're just beating them.
These are like resounding victories.
I mean, Detroit was clearly the better football team in Green Bay last week and against Carolina today. It wasn't even close.
No,
I don't know how many times. Look, they've had big wins before, right? But I just can't remember a time when I've been like, Carolina has no shot.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the first quarter, I was like, it's going to be really hard for Carolina to win this football game because Detroit was just a better football team, and you could see it in all 3 aspects.
Yeah, and I mean, 42 points. No matter how good or bad your defense is, if you are scoring 42 points, 6 touchdowns, you're going to be in a really good spot. And that's a credit to Ben Johnson. That's a credit to Jared Goff. That's a credit to David Montgomery, who, again, I mean, you're seeing that yards per carry creep up and creep up and creep up every week now. I mean, he got to 109 on only 19 carries this week after being in the 30s last week. Efficient. Craig Reynolds did a great job just taking the load off of Montgomery at the end there. And, I mean, just it was a really efficient game by the offense again today, and I mean that showed on the scoreboard to go punch it in 6 times.
And then defensively, I thought it was impressive. Really, no big chunk plays, no huge plays. Carolina had to grind out everything they got on the ground, had to drive the football. They played everything in front of them. You mentioned just the one sack by Hutch, but got pressure on him. I thought Bryce Young did a good job of getting rid of the football in some dire situations when he was about to get sacked. And then what about that interception with Hutch?
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is such a good football player. Not only the pressures and the sacks, and we talk about that, but look, he had the 3 interceptions last year. Like, he's very instinctive to read blitz and be athletic enough to just reach your hand out. He almost baited him into throwing it.
Yeah.
And then to be athletic enough to just grab it with one hand, and the little run after the catch was...
He got clocked pretty hard.
He didn't see that guy coming. I was worried when he did get hit, but to have a guy like that, and then Ali McNeil just having the awareness to punch that ball out, and Harris to be able to jump on it. And look, you talked about the interceptions with Jerry. Showed him a look, kind of baited him, backed out into zone, and made a great play on the ball. It's just all 3 phases are playing terrific football right now, and that's got to make Lions fans are really, really excited about where this football team is right now and where they're headed.
And, I mean, this is – I remember I talked about it last week. This is 3 straight weeks now where you're making a young quarterback take over 40 dropbacks, which is – I feel like that is just – that's going to be the sweet spot, that if you're bringing up Ritter doesn't have a ton of starts, Jordan Love doesn't have a ton of starts, Bryce Young doesn't have a ton of starts, making them beat you and drop back and throw the ball over 40 times while you're getting pressure. I'm okay with that. Like that is okay if you are going to force them into that and not let them run the ball, and that, you want to get beat through the air by young quarterbacks. That's a risk that clearly Aaron Glenn has been willing to take, and it's worked out so far.
And it'll be interesting to see what they do next week. A little bit different beast. You're going on the road. You're going to Florida. It's going to be hot. You have to deal with not only, the humidity and the temperature, but look, Baker Mayfield's been in this league for a while. He's not one of those young quarterbacks that you're talking about.
No, and you got 2 great wide receivers, and you got a great defense still.
So that one, to me, Detroit's won 3 straight. If they can go on the road and beat them in their place, in that environment, that's a tough place to play in Tampa. That, to me, will show me that this team is among the favorites in the NFC North. If they can go on the road and win a game like that, I think this team is dealing, and they are very dangerous in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, you have to take it week by week, but the way things are trending right now, you got to feel pretty good. I mean, Tampa is coming off a bye, so that's a tough place to they've been prepping for you for a couple weeks now. They're getting guys back. They're healthy. They're rested. It's, when you map out the schedule, it's like how many days of rest are you plus minus? Getting a team off a bye is never ideal.
Never.
It's never what you want, but that's the hand you're dealt. And you got to go beat a team that's leading their division now in their house. So I think it's a really good early road test. You got the divisional road game out of the way and took advantage of that and beat Green Bay early in the season. But now this is a team that is leading their division just like you are, and got to go take care of business next week.
But it's happy to be 4-1. The fans have got to be excited. Ford Field was crazy again. Try to make it 5-1, and we'll be in Tampa next weekend. We'll do one of these after the game. We'll also have a 20 in the huddle next week, as we always do on Thursdays leading in. I'll try to get you a player. We'll try to get you a beat writer from Tampa Bay to break down that matchup. And I think PJ will join me for key matchups next week too. So we'll have all that ahead of the game, and we'll obviously break it down from Tampa afterward too. So 20 in the huddle, stay with us all week. We'll have everything Tampa Bay broken down for you before and after.